it's me, Vicky Marie. I don't know if you even got to listen to that introduction. I forgot to put my camera on. Anyway, sorry I'm a few minutes late. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we live in. So the reason I'm a little bit late is I did a very silly thing. I went to the shopping centre. So I knew exactly what I was looking for. I'm looking for some tops that are a little bit like these, like for the summer, halter neck or off the shoulder, because that's the style that I like. And like a fool, I thought, oh, I'll go to the shopping centre and see if they've got any of those in the, the shops there. I had a look online and you can get them on Shein and Temu and those kind of places. But I thought, oh no, I would have liked one to wear today or whatever. So, impatience. So off I went. And then, I have remembered why I don't like going to the shopping centre. It's chaos, isn't it? People just walk right into you. And then I walked past a stand that was, I presume she was selling perfume or whatever. And she said to me, she tried to she asked me if I wanted a spray. I said, no, thank you. No, gracias. And she came out of her stand and went to get my arm. And she's going, oh, just a little bit. Well, that's it. I turn into a monster. Don't touch me. No me toques. How dare she? How dare she grab my arm to spray perfume on my wrist? I said, didn't I say to you, no? I said, no. And then, I started going off on one in Spanish and she's going, tranquila. Like, calm down. I said, no, you calm down. Don't you dare touch me. And I said to you politely, no, thank you. So anyway, then I just walked off before I got really angry because I don't like people in my personal space. I didn't want that. I could have been allergic or anything. I didn't want that perfume. I have perfume on, thank you. My perfume that I like, didn't want anybody else putting perfume on me. Bugger off. So that really annoyed me. Anyway, then I couldn't find any of the tops that I wanted. So I ended up buying completely different things than I'd gone to. So I bought another foam mount for the car that's supposed to be more flexible, but I don't know that it is anyway. I haven't put it in yet because the previous one, when I tried to move it, then all the stickiness went off it. Oh, just the problem in Spain is it's so hot with the sun on the windscreen. Even super sticky things don't stay sticky for very long. And even though it's got a suction cup, anyway. So I got one. It wasn't expensive. I wouldn't spend a lot of money on it because I know it'll probably just come off just the same. An expensive one would be just the same as a cheap one. But I did buy. So I want to say thank you, as I always do when I start off a video. Sorry, for those of you wanting to hear about the mushroom murders, I am going to get round to them, or the mushroom murder trial, I should say, the alleged murders, but it is a murder trial. So, I like costume jewellery, chokers and things. So I bought really nice So yeah, I want to say thank you, obviously, to all of you that are watching. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you to those of you who like my videos, share my videos. Special thank you to my members. Last night we had our members live. Special thank you to those of you who buy me Ko-fis, send super stickers, PayPal me, etc. You're so generous. Thank you so much. And that really helps because, the money that I get from YouTube, really, it just, and the money that you send, like in Ko-fis and things, pays for the streaming. I've gone back on the paid streaming now I had to come off the StreamYard for about a week or so, the paid thing, and it's a nightmare because you can't use any of the facilities. Anyway, luckily, because people have been generous, I've gone back on the paid streaming. And of course, it pays for my internet, for anything that I need. It pays for because I have YouTube Premium, so that if I show anything, any YouTube videos, it's not interrupted all the time. It pays for all those kind of things, so thank you so very much. And then those extra bits that you send me, like have paid for what I've bought. I bought a pair of earrings. I mean, but you know, it's important for my channel. I know you like to see sometimes the chokers that I wear or the jewelry that I wear. So I've bought a new choker, which I won't be wearing today because this blouse doesn't, you know, you can't put, there's no point in putting a choker on with this blouse. So I'll be premiering that sometime over the weekend. But I'm going to put the earrings on now because the earrings actually, do go. I haven't had time. I would have put them on before I started, but I just haven't had time. I've literally just walked in through the door, made a coffee, and sat down to talk to you guys. Hope you're all well. So I'm going to put on these new earrings because they do go with this top. I do like accessories and things, and I go to, as you know, because you've seen most of my accessories, I go to a place called Bijou Brigitte, which I don't know if you have in your country, wherever you're watching from. It's got lovely things in there, but it's so expensive. I mean, for costume jewelry, oh my God, you could buy something silver, but they're nice, they're unique. You know, I've tried getting them elsewhere. And they're never nice. I wouldn't say they're brilliant quality. They're not brilliant quality, but they're just really nice designs. So I saw these earrings and I thought, oh, and anyway, I didn't buy them at first. I carried on looking around other shops and then I couldn't find a top anyway. So I thought, oh, instead of a top, I'll get these earrings. Look at these. I love these earrings. They're like little pink daisies. And they just go with, oh, look at that. I do love them, you see. And that's a good way for me for deciding whether to buy things or not. Because again, they weren't cheap, you know, for what they are. I mean, they're just probably cost about 10 cents to make. But they're just pretty, aren't they? I've never seen ones like them. I love them. And they'll go with anything pink. So yeah, there you go. Oh God, I'm such a child, honestly. But I've just decided I'm growing old disgracefully. You know, maybe I'm too old to wear pink daisy earrings. I don't know. I don't care. I'm wearing them and that's it. So thank you to anyone who sent me a Ko-fi or PayPal me recently, because these earrings is what they bought. And of course the collar, which I'm not going to show you now. I'll wear that the next time that I do a live. So yes. So what else have I got to say? So hello lurkers. Sorry for waffling on, but you know, so I know some of you like my waffles, some don't, but I will be cutting this video later and just releasing it with just the nitty gritty of day 9 of the mushroom murder trial. If you don't like the waffle, but for people who don't like the waffle. But yeah, hi lurkers, hi replay crew. And I'm going to come in and say hello to those of you in the chat that have come into the chat in a moment. So we're going to talk about day 9 of this mushroom murder trial. So this woman, Erin, is accused and of course innocent till proven guilty. But she is accused of lacing a beef Wellington dish with death cap mushrooms. These mushrooms that she says she bought in an Asian supermarket, but she can't remember which one or exactly when. And there were other mushrooms in the dish that she supposedly bought in Woolworths or Safeway. Yeah. And as a result of ingesting these mushrooms, either by accident or deliberately, These 4 people who were her lunch guests, who are relatives of her estranged husband Simon, 3 of them died. So Don on the left, he died. That's her estranged husband's father. His wife Gail, Simon's mum, died. And Heather died, who is the sister of Gail. So Erin's estranged husband's auntie, she died. And the only one that survived is Ian on the right-hand side in the blue shirt on this picture. He survived, but he was very, very ill and very, very lucky to still be alive. But of course, and we saw when he was walking into the trial, I think it was yesterday, we looked at the video, he does look healthy now, but of course he's got the trauma to cope with of losing his wife and 2 of his friends. And knowing that maybe it was a deliberate act. So really, that's what this case is all about. Did Erin mean to do it? Did she mean to put these mushrooms, these deadly mushrooms in there, in the beef Wellington? The beef Wellingtons were all served up individually. Erin's was on a separate plate, a different coloured plate, apparently, smaller portion. Erin apparently had a little bit of diarrhea, but that was it. But there was never any evidence of that. She was very reluctant to admit herself to hospital. And she was also very reluctant to have her kids taken to hospital to be checked out. So, did she do it on purpose? Was it a terrible accident? What were these mushrooms from an Asian supermarket? And, this is the question that the jury has got to decide. And also, even if they decide she did put those mushrooms in there on purpose, did she mean to kill them? Did she mean to kill these people, or was she just maybe trying to make them ill for whatever reason? So we're struggling to find a motive in this case. I do feel like there hasn't, certainly not yet anyway, there's not been a real smoking gun against Erin. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence that makes you feel suspicious of Erin. But I don't know that there's been really any, definitely, unless at some point it comes out that she did forage for these mushrooms or search online for their effects, so I don't feel we've seen a smoking gun against Erin yet, whatever we believe in our hearts, whether she's guilty or not. At the end of the day, it's evidence that will decide if she's guilty. Now, it was originally supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks, this trial, and these 2 weeks have gone past. But the judge said just yesterday that he felt that it was going to be a lot shorter because they'd been working behind the scenes to sort of condense some of the information so that the trial didn't last quite as long. So we may be looking at a much quicker verdict than was originally thought, because as I say, 4 to 6 weeks put aside for this trial. We're into the 2nd week now. So what does that mean? Does it mean that maybe next week we'll see a verdict? Now, it's finished for the weekend. The trial is finished, and there will be no hearing. The jury, the court won't be sitting on Monday. So there's nothing going to happen now between now and Tuesday in this case. So we're going to have a look at sort of a little brief look at what happened so far, and then we're going to have a look at what actually happened today as far as Australia is concerned, as both Erin's children have testified by like a video recording. So she has 2 young children. Her and Simon have 2 children. They can't be named for legal reasons. They're both under 16, I imagine. And but the jury has been shown their testimony on a video. Now, we're not allowed to see the video, but the media that's in there are allowed to report. This trial is not allowed to be televised, no photos, no recordings. But the media, there's a certain amount of media that are allowed in, and they're allowed to give us the information that comes out, and that's what we're going to look at. So first of all, I'm just going to say hello to all of you that are here. All you brave people, brave enough to venture into chat. Thank you for doing that. Let's have a look. Hi, Maria. Yeah, looks like things will be concluding earlier. That's strange, isn't it? I wonder what the judge's words were, due to things happening behind the scenes. So I don't know what that means. Hi, Tracy. Hi, David. Hi, Bluebell. Hi, Tracy. I wonder, do you think Erin's going to plead manslaughter or something? I don't know. I don't feel that they've proven that she put them there deliberately yet, but I don't know what's due to come out, so we'll see. Hi, my angel. Hope you're well. Yeah, we're not completely put off mushrooms. I had some mushrooms last night as well, Chief. But, it's not the same. I mean, to be honest, I would never have gone foraging for mushrooms anyway, but they always are one of my favourite foods, mushrooms, anyway. Yeah, Maria, it's so old school, isn't it? Walking into a shop is so last century. Oh my God, though, people are just so annoying, aren't they? So I walked into the shop where I was going to buy the like the dash cam thing, or the thing to hold my phone, and there was I saw an assistant in there, but a woman was talking to her, and this woman, not about anything to do with anything she was buying in there, it was like she knew them or whatever. They're chatting away for ages, so I thought, I can't be bothered waiting. So I went over and looked myself. I couldn't see them anywhere. Then I saw another assistant. Anyway, by the time I got to the other assistant, this same woman who'd been chatting to the first one had gone chatting to her. And they were just chatting like, it's like, hola, ¿qué tal? Mucho tiempo, ¿qué tal, guapa? They were told, it wasn't, she wasn't asking her a question about any work or anything. I stood there for about 2 minutes listening to them chatting about their, I don't know, personal lives. And in the end, I just said, perdona, like, excuse me, don't mind waiting. I don't expect to be served first, but they're just having a chat, and I'm standing there. And I just said, in Spanish, can you tell me where the, I don't know what the word is in English, the things to put a phone on your dashboard are? Oh my God, this assistant looked at me as if, how dare you disturb my private conversation? And she went, they're over there in the second aisle in the blue boxes. Like, they, like really sort of like, oh my God, how dare you interrupt my personal life to ask me a question about work? Honestly, God, what with that and the girl with the bloody perfume trying to grab my arm and spray perfume on me. I was like, by the end of it, I was like, and then, people just walking into you with push chairs. There was people in there with their dogs, and I think I'm a little bit jealous of people who can walk around shopping centres with well-behaved dogs. It's like, I'm like tripping over the lead and whatever, but because I'm thinking I can't bring my dogs in. My dog's just, little rocky walks like he's, he's going to hang himself, sort of. If they just don't walk. They're not well behaved, and around shopping centres and things. So I think, I've got a little bit of dog jealousy there because I'd quite like to take my dogs, and my dogs, they're quite strong as well, So anyway. So yeah, people walking around obviously with pushchairs. I mean, they can't help that. It's not, I don't mind them walking around with pushchairs. Obviously, they've got to. But why do people go in a line of 4 people? So you've got the woman or the man pushing the pushchair, their partner, then maybe their grandparents. I don't know. There's about 4 or 5 people and a pushchair, all just in a big line, blocking up the whole sort of way that you want to walk, or in the shop, blocking the whole shop. Why do they have to do that? Why can't they be aware of people around them? So this is why I don't go to shopping centres. So I'm gonna, if I decide to get a nice halter neck top or whatever, I'll be on Shein, or Temu, or Amazon. It's just so much easier. So yeah, well done, Angel. Good luck with those interviews. You're on the second round of interview. Yeah, but David, I don't order. Yeah, you've got to be careful when you order from the internet, because I never send anything back. So I'm always careful. That's why if I order something that fits okay and I like it, might order the same thing in different colours or whatever, because you do have to take a chance with internet shopping. But it's got a lot better. What I've found is they know when I go on Amazon, and if I look up a blouse or something like that, or I don't know, jeans, shorts, whatever, it comes up with what they recommend, the size that they recommend from your history from before, isn't it? So you do, and I know myself that get to know your size, and it depends, of course, as well, on whether it's trousers or a top. I'm sort of more bottom heavy, so I tend to need a bigger size. I know that. So, and it depends on the material. You have to do all that investigating, the style of it, to see is it something that's, and then of course you read the reviews, because the people who review it, they'll say, oh, it comes up a bit small, or oh, it's a bit bigger than you expect. And you really do have to look in it. But I don't think I never send anything back. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever made a mistake clothes-wise with internet shopping. Shoes are a thing, because I need some new sandals for the summer. And I was looking, but I know exactly what I want. I just want the same ones that I've got, but newer ones, really. And because I know what I find comfortable and I know what fits me. Anyway, couldn't find anything that I wanted, so I'll go online for those as well. Anyway, sorry. Waffle, yeah. Good. People like waffle. Good, I'm glad. Yeah, where's the waffle emoji? I need to make a waffle emoji for the members. Anyway, I can only make them for the members. Yeah, a little waffle. Waffle, waffle, waffle. Yeah, we're getting into. Hi, Sean. Sean, you're probably watching. The reason you can't see, you're probably watching on the Spanish and English channel. If I send you a link to the other channel, the problem with, I'm streaming to 2 channels. I've got some memberships to give away there as well. I'm streaming on 2 channels, and you're probably watching on the Spanish or English channel. So if I send you the link to the other channel, if you watch on there, you'll be able to see the other people's comments and join in. Yeah, so that's the other thing, of course, that Erin did, as Angel says. Yeah, lying about, she lied that she had cancer. That was a big thing, wasn't it? Hi, Darren. Thank God for spandex. Yeah, lycra was a good, which reminds me though, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go on the Spanish and English channel because I've got memberships to give away on there. So, you know, the problem is, what I've realized is I can only give memberships away on the Spanish and English channel because that was the first channel that I set up. So this Vicky Marie Chats channel, it won't let me give free memberships. Now, if I give the free memberships on the Spanish and English channel, that's great. It means that people can watch the members only videos and they can watch the members only lives, but they can't, there's no crossover with the chat. You know, it's about time YouTube got its act together really over this. You know, I want to be able to give free memberships on this channel as well, but you can't. So, you know, it's just the way it is, unfortunately. Though they do say they're working on it, but you know what? They said that for ages. So I'm going to go just briefly to my, I'm going to, right. So look out for your memberships. Oh, Sean, there you go. I can see you on the other channel. Yeah, you're on the other channel. Now you may get a membership, so let's see. Oh, it's not coming up with the free memberships. Why is that then? Probably because I've got to change over. I've got to switch account. Oh, I can't be doing with all this technology. It drives me absolutely bonkers. Right, maybe now I can. Yes, I've got 10 memberships, 10 free memberships to give. So I'm going to send 5. So I don't know if this will come up on the chat. Oh, Sean, there you go. You've got membership. ACF, Rebecca Scott and Renee and Paula Roberts. So there's 5 of the gifted memberships. Let's do the other 5. And the other 5 are Julie Gaines. Oh, she's a member anyway on the Vicky Marie Chats. Lisa J. Well, so congratulations, Julie. Lisa J. Shay, someone called Claire, and someone called Vicky. Don't know whether it might be me. Hey, who knows? No, it's not me. I don't think it's me anyway. It's spelt like me, but yeah. So there you go. There's 10 memberships. 10 memberships gone out. I don't think you know what, Angel, I don't think you've got your have you checked to make sure your memberships are, you know, open? Hi, Alexi. There you go, Rena. You've been given a membership on the Spanish and English channel. It's the free, I can give 10 away a month. So unfortunately, you can't. That means you can watch the members only videos and you can watch the members live on a Thursday. But I don't think the chats cross over, which is a little bit annoying. But anyway, never mind. Okay. So let's get to it. So we're going to start off by just watching a quick resume of what had happened the day before. Because you know, the day before Erin's children have testified, all the staff from the hospital testified, didn't they? And that was strange, wasn't it? Because there was Erin had discharged herself after just 5 minutes. She didn't want to go, you know, stay in the hospital. She didn't want her children to go in the hospital, etc. So these were all strange things, and the hospital staff seemed more worried about Erin's welfare than Erin did, and more worried about her children's welfare than she was. And to the extent that one of the doctors even rang the police and sent them round there on a welfare check because he was so concerned. Now, yeah, so let's just have a recap of that then. Instead of me saying it, let's watch. There you go. Oh, no, not that one. That's what we're going to look at in a minute. Sorry. Oh, where's the video that we're going to watch? You don't want to see my halter neck tops that I was looking at. Where's the... Oh, no, that's the timeline. I had a little video all set up. You know what? I know it's there somewhere. Here it is. So this was a video by the project that I just found on the internet that I thought was an interesting resume of the doctors and, you know, the staff at the hospital's testimony. Let's have a look at this.
Now today, accused murderer Erin Patterson returned to court, taking the stand the medical staff who tried to treat her after the deadly lunch that claimed 3 lives.
Today, Leongatha Hospital staff took the stand, picking up from yesterday with GP Dr. Veronica Foote, who said she believed Erin was dehydrated due to gastro illness and that she appeared upset during her examination. Despite being told she may need a liver transplant, Erin discharged herself against advice about 5 minutes after arriving.
Her life was at risk. These guys were really unwell. She told me she had eaten the same meal as the other guests at the lunch.
Nurse Kylie Ashton, who was on duty, rejecting claims that Patterson had promised to return to hospital.
I don't recall her ever saying she was definitely coming back.
Yeah, so the people from the hospital, it was quite a damning testimony from them, wasn't it? Because they were clearly concerned about Erin, and Erin just couldn't wait to get out of there. And, you know, at the end of the day, the other people at the time, I think 2 of them were in a coma, weren't they? Or, you know, she knew how serious it was. She knew that it was serious, these death cap mushrooms. But she's, you know, I just feel like if that was me, even though I know, like, the defence said that she doesn't like hospitals. You know, I don't like hospitals, but if I thought I'd ingested death cap mushrooms, there's no way I'd be going home and taking a chance like that. I think, as I said, I just feel that she wanted to go home and have a little clear up. Once the death, because she probably couldn't believe it when she got to the hospital and they mentioned the death cap mushrooms. If she's guilty, she probably thought, oh my God, they know. And, you know, was that when she got rid of the dehydrator? So we haven't heard about the dehydrator properly yet. The fact that it was discarded, wasn't it? It was thrown into the rubbish. We haven't heard about that yet. And I wonder if Erin will come on and testify at any point herself, you know, as to why she discharged herself or as to why she threw the dehydrator away. And all this, she can't remember where she bought these mushrooms from, which Asian supermarket. You know, it's suspicious, but I don't know if it's enough evidence, to be honest, to find her guilty of murder, but it is suspicious.
Another nurse, Claire Munro, revealing the hospital exhausted its supply of mushroom toxin medication on Ian and Heather Wilkinson.
She didn't look unwell like Heather and Ian. I recall Ian being so unwell he couldn't lift his head from a pillow, but Erin was sitting up on the bed from the trolley.
She urged Erin to get her children tested after learning they had eaten leftovers.
That was when she became quite teary and quite worried. She also said, I don't want the children involved in this.
The prosecution also called on Tanya Patterson, wife of Matthew, the brother of Erin's estranged husband, Simon.
Erin and Simon didn't really interact that much at family events. Erin had taken the kids out of school to a different school without telling Simon and wanted Simon to pay child support, which was not the plan earlier.
Erin Patterson has pleaded not guilty to 3 charges of murder and 1 of attempted murder.
Yeah, so the strange thing as well, isn't it, that suddenly money seemed to become an issue. Now, you know, Erin had inherited, let's remind ourselves, Erin had inherited $2 million from her aunt. Was it? Oh no, her grandmother. And she had been very generous with that money. She had given some money to, well, not given, but lent some money to Simon's relatives. You know, to all intents and purposes, she had been generous. Money had not been an issue. Then suddenly money seemed to become an issue. Suddenly she was asking for child support. And then suddenly there were arguments over the titles of different properties that they had. And arguments about whether Simon had declared on his tax form that he declared that he was separated, and she wasn't happy with that, even though they were separated. And it seems like it was him who wanted to get that together, but she didn't. You know, so it's very odd, isn't it, that, you know, 1 minute there were no money issues. Obviously, there can't have been, otherwise she wouldn't be giving money or lending money to his relatives, etc. And then suddenly there were money issues.
Well, 10 News First, Samantha Butler is in Morwell. We heard today that Erin Patterson left the hospital against medical advice. Samantha, what more can you tell us about that?
Well, Georgie, the court heard that Erin Patterson presented to Leongatha Hospital 2 days after the lunch in July 2023, complaining of gastro symptoms. But several nurses took the stand to give evidence today, and they said that she was very reluctant at the time to receive any sort of treatment or even be assessed. Now, at the time, they took her, checked her vital signs, they took her heart rate and blood pressure, which were elevated, and they stressed to her how important it was for her to be admitted so that they could monitor her, especially considering that 4 of her lunch guests were all critically ill in hospital. But she said she didn't want to do that. The court heard that she said she needed to go and sort out her children, but she'd be back in about 20 minutes or so. She ended up coming back about an hour and a half later, but even then the court heard that she was very reluctant to receive treatment.
An hour and a half later. So from what you're saying, Maria, I haven't seen that yet. I presume that'll come out in this trial. Supposedly she hid computer equipment, and if there are searches on her computers for these mushrooms, she's going to be found guilty, isn't she? Because why would she be researching death cap mushrooms? So that will definitely be, if that comes out later in the trial, she will have to plead manslaughter at least, I think, because if it's proven that she was searching for these mushrooms online, you know, that is a smoking gun, isn't it? And also, I don't know where I heard it, but I thought I heard that there was digital evidence that she'd been in these areas where they grow, you know, from her phone, that her phone had pinged. It's not like CCTV of her actually picking the mushrooms, but showing that she, you know, her phone had pinged in areas where they grow. So that those are proper evidence, aren't they? But they haven't come out yet in the trial.
Wasn't it fascinating hearing from doctors trying to find the source of the mushrooms in court today? What did you take from that?
Yeah, well, we heard from a toxicology expert who was contacted by Leongatha Hospital after Erin Patterson was admitted, and he spoke of a conversation that he had on the phone with Erin when he was trying to work out where these mushrooms had come from. Now, he said that Erin told him that she had bought some from Safeway, now Woolworths, and some from a Chinese grocer in either the suburbs of Oakley or Glen Waverley, both suburbs in Melbourne, but she couldn't remember which one. He actually offered to get a list of those Chinese grocers up on his phone and read them out to her to see if it would jog her memory, but she said she'd bought them a couple of months back and she simply wouldn't remember.
I mean, that's awful, really, isn't it? Because let's imagine she had bought them in an Asian supermarket. You know, that supermarket, they could have gone to other people as well. You know, that supermarket. The thing is, they're unusual. It's unusual for people to die of these mushrooms. So I'm sure if there would have been other cases around that area, that would have been reported on or picked up on. You know, I do think this is a big mistake she made when she said that she'd bought them there. I think she just never even thought that it would get picked up, that they were deaf cat mushrooms. She didn't do her research well enough, in my opinion. Maybe she didn't intend to kill them. Maybe she just wanted to make the meal, but why? I have no idea, but maybe not. I doubt that, probably she didn't mean to kill them because, 3 people to die at a lunch like that, and another one to be so very ill, it is going to attract attention, isn't it? Maybe she just thought she could make them a little bit poorly. I don't know. Who knows what's going on in Erin's head?
The jury also heard testimony from Erin's daughter. What did she say about how the day unfolded?
Yeah, well, in about the last hour or so of court this afternoon, the jury was played part of a police interview with Erin Patterson's daughter, which was conducted in August 2023, a couple of weeks after the lunch at Erin's home. And her daughter was asked a series of questions about the events on that day of the lunch. Now, she said that she and her brother weren't present at the lunch. She told the interviewer that her mother had arranged for them to go to the movies. And she said that her mum had told them that she wanted to have a lunch with Don and Gail Patterson and Heather and Ian Wilkinson to talk about adult stuff. That was the term that she used. But she did also tell the interviewer that the following day, she and her brother were given leftovers from the lunch. She also...
Yeah, this is very odd, isn't it? Given leftovers from the lunch, but without the mushrooms. But gosh, fancy taking a chance on that, unless they weren't leftover or they were Erin's leftovers, because it seems that Erin didn't have it. I don't think Erin had any of those mushrooms. I don't think she had diarrhea. I think, it's easy to say you've got diarrhea, isn't it? They're not going to go in the toilet and sort of check it. I mean, the thing is, she said that she'd had some vomiting and diarrhea, but in that hour and 45-minute trip from one hospital to another, she didn't ask to go to the toilet once. Whereas the other 3, they were so poorly, they couldn't stay off the toilet and they were vomiting, and really poorly, and Erin wasn't. So she didn't have any of those mushrooms. I don't believe she had any. And I think, from what I didn't know anything about deaf cat mushrooms before, but I know a lot more now. I think even a little bit would make you very, very ill, from what I can gather. So I don't believe her children had, that thing of, I don't know why she gave the leftovers to the children, but I think they were probably her leftovers. I don't think the mushrooms will have been anywhere near those leftovers. I don't believe they were scraped off. I believe that they'd never been on that beef Wellington that the children were allowed to finish off. I don't think she would have took that chance with her children. And that all makes it all suspicious, more suspicious. So it's funny, isn't it, that only these 4 people who were given 4 individual beef Wellingtons on the same plate, but different plate from Erin, they were the only ones that were really ill. So why is that?
Said that day her mother complained of feeling really quite sick and that she'd gone to the toilet about 10 times and had barely eaten any dinner. Now, throughout all of this, Erin Patterson was sitting in the dock. She appeared to become quite emotional. At one point, she picked up a tissue and held it to her mouth and looked like she was trying to avoid crying. Now, this was just part of the police interview, and we are expecting the rest of that to be played to the jury tomorrow morning when court resumes.
Well, that will be fascinating to see. Samantha, thank you very much for your time.
So we talked about that, was yesterday. We talked about that, didn't we? And yeah, the daughter had started her testimony, or the video had been played to the jurors. So where we're going to pick up now is day 9, the following day. Now, something else that came up yesterday that the daughter said, which struck me as strange, is the daughter said that Erin had gone to the toilet 10 times. And I just thought, how would a child notice that the exact number of times their mum had gone to the toilet? They might say, oh, yeah, she went to the toilet quite a few times. How would they know she went 10 times? If they sat there counting it, it's unlikely, isn't it? So I just wonder if that is like Erin's coaching a little bit there. Oh God, yeah, remember that night I went to the toilet 10 times. Because don't forget, Erin's been with her children. There'll have been a little bit of coaching in the early days. Now, I feel for her children. It's awful, isn't it? They've lost their grandparents. And now and not only that, now their mum, their dad and mum are very estranged, even much more estranged than they were, and their mum is on trial for alleged murder of their grandparents. So it's very sad for the kids. I'm sure they wouldn't want to think badly of their mum, but I don't know if that was my mum. I think, even if she gets acquitted, you'd be very wary about eating anything she'd prepared again. Though apparently she's a very good cook. So, yeah. So let's have a look then at what happened after. So that was where we got to on day 8. Let's have a look what happened on day 9. It wasn't a very long day. There's not a lot. Not as much as there's been on other days. But this time, because we have been looking at The Guardian, but they didn't have a sort of blow-by-blow account about day 9. So we're going to this Australia News, I think, or something like that. Okay, it's got all the key events. So, continuing on from what the daughter testified yesterday, the video was put on again, and the police officer asks Erin's daughter what her favourite food is, and she says ice cream. And she is asked if, when she cooks with her mother, they ever used mushrooms, and she says no. Erin's daughter says she has never been mushroom picking with her mother and has never seen any wild mushrooms while out with her mother. She says sometimes they buy mushrooms from the supermarket in Korumburra and she sometimes eats them. She can't remember the last time they bought mushrooms. She says she has never been to an Asian grocer with her mother. Erin's daughter explains they have a house in Glen Waverley and they last went there in the school holidays. She says she didn't go to any supermarkets with her mother on that trip. Erin's daughter is asked if she has been told anything else since the lunch or whether she has been told not to say anything. She says her father said she didn't have to talk to police if she didn't want to, but she confirmed she was fine to talk to the officer. And that is the end of her daughter's police interview. So now the police recording of the interview with her son is being played. And as the video interview of Erin Patterson's daughter comes to an end, Miss Patterson appears to become emotional, slightly rocking back and forth in her seat. And the jury is now shown the second interview conducted with her then 14-year-old son. It was conducted on the same day as the daughter's interview, August the 16th, 2023, about 2 weeks after the fatal lunch. And the footage depicts the teenager sitting in a green armchair across from a police officer. So obviously the son is older than the daughter. So the police interview with Erin Patterson's son is now being played to the court. The courtroom is told the recording will go for about an hour and 40 minutes. Erin's son gives his name and confirms his age. He is asked what he thinks it means to tell the truth, and he replies, something that's right. He confirms he is going to tell the officer what really happened. He says he knows he is there to talk about the lunch which led to the deaths of 3 people. Erin's son names the 4 guests at the lunch and explains his relationship to the 4 people. He says the lunch happened at his mother's house, and he says his father was invited but didn't come. He doesn't know why his father did not come. So he is asked about his parents' relationship, and he says when he was about 7 years of age, they had a few arguments, and his mother moved house, but they were never divorced. He says neither his mother nor his father had another relationship, as far as he knows, of course. He explains he goes to stay with his father over weekends, and he drops them off at school on Monday morning. Erin's son says his mother used to come to his father's house on Friday nights, and they would all have dinner together. He estimates this was when he was about 8 or 9 years old. He describes the relationship between his parents as very negative. He says they wouldn't talk to each other about getting joint access to the app, which contains the school reports. So it's funny that he's describing their relationship as negative, but other people have described it as positive. You know, it's straight. It just shows how people look at things differently. And children, of course, see things completely differently. He says his father kept trying to convince his children to keep staying with him over weekends, but they never did anything when they stayed with him, so he didn't want to. So there you go, did more things with his mum. He's then asked about family relationships. So the conversation now turns to the lunch, and Erin's son says her mother organised the lunch but didn't tell them why, and there was no mention of Simon Patterson being invited. He says that Erin had Don and Gail Patterson over for dinner before, but never Ian and Heather. Wonder why, why did she invite Ian and Heather if she'd never invited them before? Now, don't forget as well, during that lunch, that's when Erin said she had cancer. Now, her defence now are trying to say that she didn't say that. She said she was possibly had cancer, but the surviving guest, Ian Wilkinson, he was adamant. She said she had cancer, not suspected cancer. So that's not going to go down well for her, is it? The police officer asked Erin's son about Erin's relationship with Don and Gail Patterson, and he says they sometimes went to their place for events. He doesn't recall a whole lot about the family's relationship with Ian and Heather, and he says it's not a negative one, but it's not strong. So that confirms really what Ian said. Ian said he would describe Erin as an acquaintance, not somebody he knew well, but an acquaintance. That's and he and Heather, they were delighted to be invited for lunch because it was unusual, wasn't it? It was unusual. So, sorry, I'm just going to, please be careful with your comments. Okay, I've just had to delete a comment there. I don't want those sort of comments. So, yeah, that is a confirmation of what Ian said, that they were only acquaintances. So Erin's son says he doesn't recall a whole lot about the family's relationship with Ian and Heather, and he says it's not a negative one, but it's strong. So apparently the son saw his mother preparing a salad. Erin's son is now talking about the day of the lunch. He says his friend stayed at the house on the Friday night before the lunch, and he says Erin told him about the lunch on the Saturday morning. He tells the officer interviewing him that he and his sister and a friend went to see a movie in Leongatha on the day of the lunch. And then all three were picked up from the cinema by his father and driven back to Erin's house. He says he said hello to the lunch guests. Erin's son says she told him she wanted to talk to the guests about something, and the children didn't need to be there. He says he saw her preparing a salad, but he did not see any other food. So, and he cannot recall dinner on the day of the lunch. He is asked about what he saw when he returned to the house after seeing the film, and he says there was some small talk with Don Patterson about the flying lessons he was taking. He says he doesn't know what the guests were talking about and doesn't know what they were eating, but he saw a fruit platter and some other food. He says the guests stayed for about half an hour after he got home. After the guests left, he and his friend played computer games. Then his friend was driven home around 5 p.m. by Erin with all of the children in the car. He can't remember what they had for dinner that night. I mean, it seems pretty likely, doesn't it? You know, so I admit, you know, would you, you know, a teenage lad like that, he won't remember, will he? Just remember it's food. So he can't recall speaking to his mother about the lunch. He says he spent around 30 minutes with the lunch guests, and he agrees that everyone seems happy when asked by the interviewing police officer. Here, Erin's son says he can't remember his sister coming inside, and his sister wasn't in the car when Erin drove his friend home. He says he didn't have any car. I mean, you know, teenage boys, I mean, they're not going to be brilliant witnesses, are they? You know, he won't really remember much, will he? I can imagine that. He says he didn't have any conversation with his mother about how the lunch went after the guests left. He says he presumes his mother was tidying up the kitchen, and he remembers taking some lunch plates to the dishwasher. He says he can't remember if there was any leftovers on the plates. And then he says that he and his friend played a game with headphones on for around 2.5 hours and can't remember taking any toilet or drink breaks. He says he went upstairs around 5:30 p.m. to tell his mother his friend had to go home soon. They left the home shortly after to take his friend home. Playback of the recording was paused then while the court takes a break. So Erin Patterson apparently was going through a range of emotions during her son's evidence. At times she nodded along as he recounted details about the times that certain things happened or how the house was arranged. But at other moments she appeared upset, swallowing hard and dabbing her eyes with a tissue. So, you know, it's Erin is getting emotional when her children are speaking, aren't they? Anyway, I suppose you would. So when the video resumes, he says he returned to their home with his mother around 6 p.m. after dropping his friend home. His father dropped his sister to Erin's house later that night. Sorry, hang on. He says his sister got home around 9 p.m, but he's not sure whether his father came into the house. And the police officer conducting the interview is now asking Erin's son about the day after the lunch. He says he saw his mother in the morning drinking coffee, and she told him she was feeling a bit sick and had diarrhea. He says they were supposed to go to church, but didn't end up going because his mother was unwell. He says that Erin drove him to a flying lesson in Tayab that morning, but he doesn't know why she did that, as she was unwell. So she didn't go to church because she was unwell, but she drove him to a flying lesson. Yeah. Anyway, strange, isn't it? Because could she not face church, maybe, because, you know, of what she'd done? You know, right. Yeah. So he says his mother was a bit quieter than usual that morning, which he thinks was because she was sick. He confirms the drive to his flying lesson was about an hour and 10 minutes, and he thinks they left home around midday. He's asked to talk about what happened in the time between when he first saw her that morning and when they left. He says that she told him she vomited a few times overnight. She was playing it down. That's what it sounded like, he says. He says she told him she didn't want to go to church in case she spread it to people, but was happy to drive him to his flying lesson because there would not be many people there. Spread what to people? Erin's son says he was in the computer room most of the morning, but did not notice his mother going to the bathroom in that period. He says she told him she hoped she could make it to Tayab before she needed to go to the toilet, and he confirms they did not stop and she did not need to go to the toilet, or she did not go to the toilet. So the interview now turns to the cancellation of his flying lesson, and he confirms the instructor called his mother when they were around 10 minutes away from Tayab. He says they turned round and drove back. So in the end, the actual flying instructor, the actual flying instructor cancelled the flying lesson. He says they turned around and drove back, stopping to get some dim sums and a hot dog. That's a weird combination, isn't it? Dim sums and a hot dog. That was for him, I think, while his mother got a coffee. He's not sure who ate what. Well, maybe she did eat something. They stopped for around 10 minutes. He says there was no toilet where they stopped, and his mother did not use a toilet. He remembers his mother racing for the front door when they got home and then using the toilet. And Erin's son then explains they had a meal and watched TV that evening. So Erin's son is now describing the leftovers that they ate for dinner, which he says was some of the best meat he'd eaten. Now remember, Heather, was it Heather or Gail, one of the poor unfortunate ladies who died, described the meal as delicious, didn't they? So it seems, that it was a delicious meal. But of course, these death cap mushrooms, had they been dried, powdered. The other thing we mustn't forget is Erin had been putting powdered mushrooms in also everything. She said that herself in her Facebook group. She was a member of a true crime Facebook group, and she said herself that when she got the dehydrator, she was powdering mushrooms and putting them in everything. That was her exact words, and she even put them in her children's chocolate brownies. So he said it was a block and I cut it into cubes and ate it. Sorry, he said it was an eye fillet, some of the best meat he's eaten. He says the meat did not have anything on it. He explains his mother told him it was leftovers and there was no gravy with it. So it was just the meat, there was no mushroom sauce on it. He talks more about the conversation with his mother about the leftovers, and he thought he had seen the meat before when his mother was preparing the lunch the day before. He says he saw meat in a fry pan the morning before, but he didn't see her preparing anything else. He says there was no leftover salad from the lunch. And the police officer asked if the meat they ate for dinner the day after the lunch had already been cooked and was being reheated, or whether it was cooked that evening. He thinks it was meat that was already cooked and was reheated, but he did not see how the meal was prepared. And he said Erin made dinner for herself that night, but she did not eat any of it. He said that Erin was feeling dizzy and clammy. He says his mother said after dinner on Sunday she was feeling dizzy and had diarrhea. He confirms his mother told him she knew Gail and Don were unwell. He says his mother woke him up around 6:30 a.m. Monday and he came downstairs for breakfast. Erin drove the children to the bus stop. He explains he was told at the school around midday his mother was unwell and he and his sister were taken to the hospital to see her. She was tired, he says, and they spoke about his day at school and how she was feeling that day. She said she was feeling clammy and dizzy, he says. He says she told him that morning before school she had been to the toilet a few times during the night. He explains he saw Erin having a coffee downstairs that morning. And he then says that a toxicologist came into the hospital room while he was there with his mother and he had to leave the room. The interview is jumping back and forth chronologically while the police officer clarifies some details. So the interviewing officer asks Erin's son about what he recalls about clearing away the plates from the lunch. He says they were white plates. Now, don't forget, the people at the lunch said, Ian, who'd been at the lunch, he said they were grey, didn't he? Anyway, he says they're white plates around 15 centimetres in diameter. He said they were plates his mother would serve dinner on. They were just plain white plates. All the same, he says. Was there anything left on those plates, he is asked. He says no. Erin's son, sorry, it's my sense of humour. Erin's son is asked if he likes mushrooms, and he says he doesn't really like how squishy and mushy they are. He says he's never been foraging for mushrooms with his parents. He remembers his mother once taking a photo of mushrooms when they were on a walk because they looked nice. And it was a very fond memory in his head. And this was around July or August 2020, he says. He's not aware of his parents ever picking mushrooms. So he is asked if he knows if his mother has a dehydrator, and he says no. He says he and his sister and his mother, I presume that's no, he doesn't know, not no, she doesn't have one, I don't know. He says he, his sister and his mother stayed in a house in Mount Waverley during the Easter school holidays for 3 to 5 days, but he can't remember any outings with his mother. He says he didn't go shopping with her, but he did help carry groceries from the car. The interview jumps to Erin's son's school arrangements, and he explains he changed school recently because there weren't enough teachers at his previous school. He says the move was his mother's decision, and he agreed to move. The police officer asks, is there anything important he'd like to say? And Erin's son says no, and agrees that everything he's spoken about is what happened. And then the police interview ends and the court breaks for the day. So now the trial is adjourned till Tuesday. Monday is a rest day, so we won't have any more news until Tuesday. And as I said earlier, it seems that, you know, the trial isn't going to last as long as it was originally thought that it was going to last. So we'll see. What's due to, I think they've got to show that she did search for these death cap mushrooms, haven't they? That's to really to find Erin guilty, there's got to be something definite. You know, everything that's happened so far, I think, is strange, points towards her doing it, but I don't think any of it is a smoking gun. So really, to be able to find a guilty verdict, they're going to have to show that she searched for these mushrooms online, or that she was actually around areas where they grow. And, you know, is that what's going to come out next week? So I don't know. Okay, so that's it for now. We'll be back I'll be back before Tuesday, of course, talking about other things. But I won't be talking about this case then till Tuesday, because there isn't any more court then till Tuesday. And yeah, we'll see what else comes out. Is there going to be more coming out? There's got to be. I don't believe this is all the police have got on Erin. They must have more for them to bring her to court, in my opinion. But anyway, as always, let me know what you think. Be respectful in your comments, please. Remember, your comments are public. So most of my regular chatters, you're always respectful. Thank you for that. Thank you for my earrings. As I say, I just love these earrings. I've got to wear, you know, just any excuse to wear them now. You could probably make these. When I think about what you end up paying for them in these shops, probably could make them, but it's time, isn't it? I haven't got time to make them, but okay. So I will see you really soon. Yeah, they've got little diamanti there somewhere. Yeah, but it's the daisy that I like. You know, the pink daisy. I like daisies. I like flowers, so I like flowers. So have a good day, a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, whatever you're doing in this mad world. I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, let me know what you think about this case. You know, do you think the police have got to, you know, find more evidence? You know, or do you think that enough has been presented so far? Or do you think this circumstantial evidence is enough? Or do you think the police are going to come up with something more concrete as the case goes on? Yeah, I'll be back soon, as ever, in the next video. And until then, thank you so much for watching. Please think about subscribing if you're not already subscribed. And yeah, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. Bye.